If I never make it back home, yes, it was meant to be. I've been sent by the Lord with a destiny. I'm chasing demons out of this land under authority of God's right hand, and I've been down this road a time or two at least. And I'm not giving up for angel, man, nor beast, 'cause I'm a devil chasing son of a gun. Ain't giving up till the good Lord comes back to get me, take me home. I'm part of God's army. Here we come.
Here we come. Vicki Joy and Tom Dunn. Hey, what's going on, folks? Vic, I heard, and I'm not sure if this is true. I didn't take time to vet it out, but I'm just going to go with it. I heard it's Oz Fox's birthday, so I'm gonna throw it over to you so you can go ahead and sing him happy birthday.
Oh man, I should grab my guitar here. Oh, well,
it may
cool.
not even be true, but you know how you can't trust everything you see on the internet.
That's right. That's right. If you didn't hear it from Kenny C, it's probably not accurate Striper information. But if it is true, you know, he's been kind of sick off and on. He had a lot of heart surgeries and something. So, hey, I'm glad he's still here with us, kicking out good albums.
Yes, me too. And Kenny C probably even knows the minute he was born. So
hopefully, he probably has a copy of the birth.
He probably knows his weight and his
framed
length and all of his measurements and
Oh my gosh.
So, hey, speaking of Kenny C, we're going to be talking about him later, but good to be back with everybody. Yes, it's true. You are watching the Through the Black show. It is 11:05, and that's when we do the Through the Black show, Eastern time at least. It's 10:05 for you, Vic.
Yeah.
So I am ahead of you in time. It's kind of cool how you can do time travel on this show.
Yeah, right. At least we've got one little minor superpower. It's about all we can do is a time zone difference.
Yeah. So, hey, well, last week it was slushy. This week it's snowy, and we're in that time of year again. So I like the seasons. I know so many people that used to live in Ohio, that were born in Ohio. They go to another state, usually Florida, because they hate the snow. I love the snow. The snow's cool, dude. Seriously. Like, you know, frost falling from the sky. No.
I don't know, man. So as a Minnesotan, I like the snow. Like I would miss it if it was completely gone. But when you're like deep into month 6 and you're scraping your windshield off every morning and it's below 0, that's black ice. That's not fun. But I made the mistake the other day of asking a local Missourian, when's winter start around here? And they were giving me this weird look. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm freezing. I'm like, what? Tom, it's like sunny and 50. I went to the gym today in a t-shirt and sweats, and like the sun is like beating down on me. And apparently this is winter, but you could have fooled me.
Well, I was just talking with my friend Rob. You know Rob. He used to work at a grocery store in Florida, and when it got cold down there, they didn't want to go out and get the carts out of the parking lot. It was 70 degrees, he said.
Oh my goodness.
70 degrees is cold in Florida, and he's like, I'll go get the carts.
That's so ridiculous. It's funny. Yeah. It's funny what you get used to, you know. I'm sure if I went back to Minnesota now after 2-3 years of not being there, I would probably die. I would think, how in the world did I ever do that?
Well, in Ohio, I feel like we have a good balance of the seasons. Winter, spring, summer, or fall.
Yeah.
Vic, all you got to do is call.
I was waiting for that to rhyme. I didn't know where you were going.
Think about our friends, Paul and Katie. They came from Las Vegas. I was going to say Sin City, but that gives a connotation that
it's not.
Anyway,
it's cold.
Yeah, I guess the humidity out there is pretty bad.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah. So I have a brother who lives in Vegas, and the first time I went out there to visit him, I think it was 104, and it was a dry heat, so it's not hot, right? Anyway, the smog was so bad that by the time I got to my hotel room, my eyes were burning. It was like glass was in them, and I made the mistake of like, oh, I'll put a hot washcloth over my burning eyes. Oh my gosh. It felt like a demon was clawing my eyeballs out. It was horrible.
hey, we're gonna talk about that later.
I know. I thought I would. It was a little teaser.
Yeah, there is a video of me actually when it was 27 below running through my yard.
I remember that.
Yeah. So that was a feat. And that's one of those things, like, when is it ever going to be 27 below again? You don't want to miss that opportunity. So
Have
yeah.
you done a polar plunge?
Yeah, well, I didn't get wet. That would have been a big mistake.
I'm just wondering if you've ever.
I've never done it. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. We had a lake at my college campus in Minnesota, and they would do a polar plunge every year. Ugh.
I think I could do it. I think I could. I wouldn't want to do it in the cold. I would want to do it in the heat, like in the summertime, like how they do the ice.
Yeah. You know what polar means?
Yeah, well, I do know what polar means, Vicki. Anyway. Okay.
Moving on. Oh man.
Moving on. Anyway,
it was all in jest. It was all in jest.
Yeah, I'm wondering if anybody out there has done anything like that. So I wouldn't. Okay, so let me say this. I want to add this. I wouldn't want cold water dumped over top of me. I would rather dunk myself
submerged. I agree. I think your little run through the cold just got posted into the chat.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yep. Yep. Enjoy.
Somebody people. Did. Yeah. There you go.
There you
go. If anybody missed it, yeah, you can Good check stuff. Out the link. That was a crazy time, and I thought my son was going to do it with me. I was inspired by my son-in-law who did it first.
Okay.
And I missed part of the challenge where I guess he drank a raw egg first, then he went and did it.
Oh, what did that do?
I don't know.
Or it's just a double, two things people don't want to do.
Cousin. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I miss. I don't know what that was about.
I don't know, unless it was just two things that people don't want to do: drink a raw egg and get cold.
Could have been. Could have been. So, hey, folks, just a few things that we want to mention. One is this ongoing campaign that we're doing called No More Dead Babies. Okay. You're going to be hearing a lot more about this in the year 2025. And we've given away a couple hundred shirts, and we want to give away hundreds more. Okay. So guys, if you want one of these shirts, you can go to nomoredeadbabies.com and get a free t-shirt. All you got to do is pay for shipping. Shipping's kind of expensive. So anyway, I got to get this off the floor or I'll forget. Okay. But it's fun to wear those shirts just to see the responses of people out in the wild, just kind of see what they'll do. Vic, we have an announcement. It's already been announced. Okay. And we're going to get into that tonight. So we want to talk about this conference that we've been putting together behind the scenes. Of course, you are a part of this, and the Through the Black family is a part of this. And we didn't want to do a conference just to do a conference. Okay. People have been asking us to do a conference, and we appreciate that. The last conference was amazing. Okay. Out of the Darkness, which happened in 2023, correct? So now it's going to be 2025. 2-year anniversary. We're coming back with the Strange Land, and I'm trying not to call it a conference, even though it is a conference. But it's just kind of I'm trying to set it apart from other events or conferences. We're just calling it Strange Land. It's kind of like Share, only want to be called Share, right? Maybe that's not the way to do that, but
The gathering, the strange
Bad
land
analogy. Yeah,
gathering.
bad analogy.
Hmm.
So anyway, we're putting together a conference. It's not all put together yet, but next week, a week from tonight, you're going to be able to register for the conference, okay? And all the information is going to be at throughtheblack.com. You can go there and click on the Strange Land icon at the front of the page. Now, Vic, we're not going to read all of these bios, but we're going to talk about some of these people. So I'm excited. This is it. We're sharing who is going to be at the conference. Okay. So if you go to the Through the Black webpage, when this is all ready to go and you click on the pictures are links to the websites. Okay. So let's just scroll down here, and I might need that a little bit bigger so I can read a little bit of it there. But we have here, Vic, have you ever heard of these guys? Jason Spears and Christopher Dean. They've heard of you. Let me just say that.
Yes, I have. And I believe I'm sorry, I get it all mixed up. I did just talk to one of them via email back and forth. I think I'm going to be on the show, but I don't think I have been yet. I think in January.
These guys are awesome. I met them at the Go Therefore conference this year, and we just connected. So I said, hey, I want you guys to be involved if we do something. And they said, sure. So
Awesome.
They're going to be involved in emceeing the conference, and they're going to be involved in doing a presentation. Okay. I think the title of their presentation is The Satanic Control Matrix. All right.
Wow.
These guys have an amazing podcast. I was on it. You can follow this link and go to their podcast, and it's called Operation Red Pill. And they've been doing this consistently every week. They drop a podcast. Okay.
Wow.
They do the interview, and they edit it and they put it out. They put bumpers on it. It's very high quality stuff. These guys are super cool, and I'm glad that they're a part of this conference. They're actually some of the first people that I reached out to when I was doing a conference, because Vic, I love our conferences, and we have just a great group of people, but I want to try to bring some new people in,
Definitely.
So anyway, yes, Jason Spears, Christopher Dean, these guys are awesome, and they're going to be a part of it. I can't wait to see what they bring. They're just taking this very seriously, and they're still asking me questions about, hey, what about this? What about that? We just want to do a good job. So can't wait to have these guys there. Okay, moving on. Vic, were you co-hosting with me when we had Patrick Meechan on?
I remember when we did the show, and I remember preparing for it, but I don't know that I was actually on the episode.
So, okay. Well, anyway, I've wanted to have this guy on for years. I want to have him to a conference. And every time I ask him, it's too short of a notice, and his work schedule is kind of like set out way in advance.
Yeah.
So I asked him a couple months ago to set the date aside because we were thinking about it. And he said, okay, I'll do it. And now we have him at this conference. He wrote the book, Nightmare in Holmes County. And, speaking of demon attack, that's what his book is about. He also wrote a book called 225th Street, I believe.
Wow.
And some really crazy demonic stuff happening. People loved it when they were when he was on the show. So he's coming to the conference. I'm excited to have him. We scroll down a little bit. We got Coach Dave. Everybody knows Coach Dave. The thing about Coach is he's been opening up the conference, and I'm actually going to ask him to close the conference this time. I want him to kind of do the commission.
Nice.
And I thought, I'm just like, okay, here's a guy that we have before, but we need a Coach Dave butt kicking, I think. And I wanted him to come and do it. So he agreed to do it. So yeah, there he is, Coach. So Vic,
Awesome.
You jump in here anytime.
Very good. Hey, I can take the next couple, but I just want to make an announcement. Okay. The illustrious Mr. Rock with Kenny C is in our live chat.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
Okay.
Kenny.
Did he hear us talking about him a little bit ago or no?
We were arousing you a little bit at the beginning of the show, Kenny, for your
Yeah.
can you verify whether or not it is Oz Fox's birthday today? That's the question.
Yeah. That is a question. And do you know how much he weighed when he was born?
Do you know his mother's maiden name?
Yeah.
Oh, I was actually really surprised. Kenny posted something the other day that had his, let's see, come on, Kenny. Like his most listened to stuff on Spotify this year or something like that. And I was shocked that I think Striper was number 2 and Extreme was number 4. I was really
Oh,
surprised. I would have
that
ranked
is
that
weird.
differently, knowing Kenny. But let's see. All right. Well,
You think you know somebody.
you
Anyway,
think
go
you
ahead.
know someone, and then you lose a bet, and you're out $50. Okay. So, while we're waiting on Kenny to tell us if it's Oz's birthday today or not, we are having George Carneal on. He is the author of the book From Queer to Christ, which is his autobiography and his journey out of the LGBTQ lifestyle. If anyone was at Go Therefore, maybe, I don't know, Tom, was it 2 or 3 years ago? I think it was right around the same time as Out of the Darkness. I don't know. He did speak at Go Therefore 1 year, so some of you should probably be familiar with him. But he is a very good friend of the ministry. I've known George for
He's like my
many.
best friend, actually.
Is he your
So,
best friend? Wait,
yeah.
he's been lying to me then. No. George is hysterical. We have the most uncouth, like dry humor, like friendship, and we always joke that if anybody ever confiscated our cell phones, like the FBI or something, they would think that we hated each other because our text messages are hysterical. We're just like so mean to each other on purpose. But yeah, so he
Man.
will be there on his best behavior, though. I'm sure he's not going to show anybody that side.
So, Vic, this is going to be cool because there are so many people that show up at conferences that have questions about how do I reach my friends, my family. He's going to answer those questions, and he's going to make himself available to kind of address these things.
Yeah.
So anyway, George Carneal, so glad that he's going to be there, and yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited that he's going to be there.
So go ahead.
All right. I'm sure you know way more about Mark than I do, Tom, because of your daughter and son's affiliation with his ministry. So Mark Harrington, I'm excited about I haven't seen Mark since 2019. He was at one of Coach Dave's conferences in Ohio. That I don't know if you were there or not, Tom. It was the release of the Fire and Brimstone DVD. Were you at that?
Yeah, I would say I would have been there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Created Equal is the name of his organization, and that is a pro-life ministry. And Tom, this is one of the most awesome ministries in this realm because he attracts so many young people, and they do kind of like the Charlie Kirk, Cameron, is it Owens thing where they go onto campuses and they're just so bold. And I had an opportunity back in 2019 at a Wisconsin Christian News Conference to see some of his girls in action. Some girls were coming through and looking at all the exhibits, and it wasn't one of the pro-life exhibits, but these girls got triggered and they were shouting and they were off the rails about the, right to free healthcare, right? And all this stuff. And the table that they were having this meltdown at was really not prepared with all of the apologetics. And one of the young gals who was only a teenager at the time came over, and I got to see her interface with these, very emotional girls. And she handled herself with such class. She maintained, gentle answers, turn away wrath. She had all of the facts. She led them over to her table. And so obviously that is a tribute to Mark and his organization and what he's done and the kind of training that these individuals get. So I'm really excited that he's going to be there.
Yeah. Mark Harrington and Created Equal are masters at pro-life apologetics. And these guys go to high schools and college campuses and abortion clinics and do ministry. Folks, this is human sacrifice, modern day human sacrifice, the murder of babies. And this is something that obviously, we talk about it through we have the No More Dead Babies campaign. And this is something that we want addressed at our conference. Actually, the last time it was my daughter who gave the pro-life message, and this time it's going to be Mark. I reached out to him and he said, let me check my calendar. He said, I'll be there. So yeah, excited to have Mark there. This guy's the best of the best. So cutting edge, leading in the country, in my opinion. So I love, and he man, what a good guy. 2 summers in a row my son stayed at his house.
Oh wow.
So and I was very glad that this guy was hanging around my son. So yeah, very cool stuff. So anyway, Mark Harrington from Created Equal is going to be there. So we have, again, Vic, Landon from the group Save Them. Okay. Now Landon his testimony has been out there, and he spent a lot of time in South Africa. This is the last time I saw him. I think it was in Georgia. And it was a powerful message that he gave. And I had never heard his full testimony before, but they were working at orphanages in South Africa. And somebody came to them and said, hey, thank you for doing this. We appreciate this, but we've got another problem. And the kids were being kidnapped and trafficked into the northern part of the country. And Landon with Save Them, okay, and there's a reason why his face is not on there, because he's protecting his identity, because he's directly involved with rescuing kids. So you're not going to want to miss this. Again, cutting edge information. These guys are boots on the ground in America, by the way. And I have conversations with them on a regular basis, and they can't tell me everything that they're working on, but they allude to a lot of stuff. And of course, I was almost a year ago, down in January, I was down on the border with them. And they've been tracking that stuff and investigating and doing all kinds of stuff ever since. So yes, Landon from Save Them is going to be back. So let's move down here. Vic, this is a surprise. This is a treat. Okay. A friend of mine that I've known for quite a while, whose name is Noel Kidd, is going to be at the conference. So if anybody has seen the film Detestable, Noel is in the movie, and we had to go. At the time, he lived in Kentucky, and we went down there. We interviewed him. I didn't even know he had a testimony that was related to the subject of Detestable, but he reached out to me and he told me about it. And I was like, can I interview you? And he said, yeah. So we went down, interviewed him, and it worked out to fit into the film. Powerful story. Powerful testimony. The bio is way too small to read, but Noel was in all kinds of stuff. And when I met him, he was in a Christian rock band called Urgent Message. Okay. And right before that, he got saved. He was in a secular rock band and involved in all kinds of crazy stuff. You guys can read his bio there, and we'll talk more about him later. I asked him, because he lives a lot closer now. I said, hey, I have an idea. Would you come down and share your story at the conference? And he said, yeah. So, dude, this is going to be cool. So, yeah. Any, do you, I don't know if you remember Noel or not from the film, Vic, but
I've seen the film numerous times, and there's one story that I will never, ever, ever forget. The kid who's got the Dutch Brothers coffee cup on his truck, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% placing Noel, but I'm super excited just from your little teaser there that he's going to be there. Because like you said a few minutes ago, I love that we're getting new faces.
Yeah. Yeah. Noel is, man, he's a powerhouse. Man, I love this band, Urgent Message. Vic, you would love them too. They were so cool. And I still remember the lyrics to their songs.
Oh my goodness.
Just like anyway, they were real popular around my part of Ohio because they were from just like 30 minutes away from here. So anyway, yeah. Noel Kidd, and I don't know how many more do we have here. We don't have everybody listed. I don't. Do you recognize this one? This is one
Who's
I
that?
don't know.
Who's that guy?
I don't know.
That's the guy we
I
hired.
thought you did you book this one?
That's the guy we hired to like do the soundboard.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're not even supposed to be on here. That's weird. Okay. Yeah. Behind the scenes,
That's weird.
this dude. So, and he's got that soundboard look, right? So.
Yep. Well, if everybody can only have one best friend and you already took George Carneal, then this is my brother from another mother here, Mr. Kenny C. I don't know if he's still in the live chat. If he's still in the live chat, we'll continue to be kind. If he's dropped off and gone to bed, we can start getting to the real nitty gritty of what this guy's all about. Oh no, he's still in. Okay.
He's out.
Oh man. Is Kenny, I don't even know, Tom, is Kenny speaking or is he doing
He is, yes.
music? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sure he'll bring
he'll bring
guitar
that
too,
he'll bring
but
that
yeah.
guitar. We'll get that guitar. Maybe we can get Noel to bring whatever instrument he plays.
Dude. Man, I'm telling you what, Noel's voice is fire. Dude.
Oh man.
Look up, it might be on YouTube somewhere. Look up. We should have Katie look up Urgent Message.
Yeah. I would love to see that.
Look up the song Sins in Demand.
Okay.
Dude,
Ooh, this
1
cool.
Hour for Life. Maybe we'll play that here in a little bit.
Okay, I would love to hear that.
Of it.
I think maybe we could talk Noel and Kenny into maybe doing a little song or something.
You never know, dude.
That would be awesome.
Know. It could be. But Kenny C, our brother, is going to be there. We're glad to have him. And it's going to be good stuff. He always brings very fascinating content. And if you've never seen a Kenny C presentation, then you don't know what you're missing. So,
that's right.
So I don't know how many more we got. Let's look here. So,
who in the
there
world?
we go. There's our friend.
Yay!
Joy. Hey, folks, you know the lady who wrote "They Only Come Out at Midnight." I did that on purpose, Vic.
Threat level midnight.
Yeah. They only come out at night. She has been a contributor and co-host on Through the Black for quite a few years. And just in case, the guys at Operation Red Pill, they're like, hey, is Vicki Joy going to be there? Because the first link I sent them, you weren't on it.
Oh.
And they were like panicking for a second.
Oh, gosh.
And I said, yeah, she's going to be there. She's just not on there yet. And they're like, okay, I'm halfway through her book right now, and they're counting on you being there. So
sweet.
Anyway.
Well, I'm super excited to meet them. Just our emails have been fun. So yeah, that's going to be great. So I'll be there. I don't know what I'll be talking about. I kind of like to switch it up so that every single time I'm not just talking about sleep paralysis.
Good idea, Vic.
So I'll do something wild and wacky. I don't know. Maybe I'll talk about frequencies since no one else is talking about that.
That's a good idea. That would be different. We got one more, but before we go on to that, I want to mention that we also have somebody from my church that I asked to speak, and her name is Dr. Dawn Morton. And I asked her if she would speak on how to protect children in churches and ministry. Okay. So I've known her for years, and that's one of her passions. And she's very diligent about training the children's ministers on how to protect children, on how to screen children's ministers, and on how to look out for signs of abuse and how to report it and all of that stuff. Vic, this is going to be, there's going to be a lot of practical things, but this is definitely going to be something practical that people can take home, okay, and apply to their church, apply to their group, apply to their school, whatever. Okay, this is important information. Obviously, we know predators are looking for prey.
That is so vital. Every single church should be required to know that information before they hire people. I know that most of those people are volunteers, but you know what I mean. We've just heard all of us have heard way too many horror stories about, unfortunately, what happens when people drop their kids off.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on down here, we have now let me make sure you guys understand. Greg Reid is not going to be there in person, okay? But he is going to record a special message, a special video for us, okay?
Awesome. I'm so glad.
Yeah, I reached out to Greg and just told him, hey, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure what's going on with the budget of this conference, and it's expensive to get him here. And I said, of course he's invited, but it could be a strain this time. And I said, just pray about it. And he said, okay, we'll do that. And so he called me yesterday, and he's actually in need of prayer. And I don't want to say too much. This is his personal stuff, but he wants some prayer. But he was in an accident last week. He's okay. He got banged up a little bit, but we talked, and he's going to record a message. Okay. So pray for Greg, because I have no doubt the enemy would want to take him out. And almost a year ago, he was in a bicycle accident, and he got banged up real bad.
I was just going to say, last week, wasn't this like a year ago? So this is a second incursion here.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So Greg is pretty serious. He was pretty serious when he told me last night. He's like, they're not going to stop me. Nobody's going to stop me, and I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. But he's not going to be at the conference, and I just want to make sure people know that. But he's going to have a special exclusive video for us. Vic, so the conference, if anybody's been following me on Facebook, I keep putting out these promotions that give the wrong date. It's not the 26th, it's the 27th, okay? Which is a Thursday night. So this is what it's going to be, guys. You can show up early, and there's stuff going to be going on Thursday night. The conference doesn't officially start until Friday afternoon, right around 2:00. Okay, we have most of the schedule done, and we'll be releasing that in January. But we have not announced all the people. There's still a couple more people to be announced, and we're just ironing out the details of making all this happen. But the people are going to come home from this conference, and they're really just their heart's going to be full, their brain's going to be full, and it's just going to be, their love tank is going to be full. Okay. On Thursday night, we want to do what we did last time, when we have a time of prayer, but this time we're going to add some worship time. Okay. On Thursday night. And then, if everything goes right around 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm going to do a course, crash course in Freedom Encounters, and I might have some help with that. But here's another practical thing that we want to do, for people to take something home, and just to be able to get started. So there's going to be tons of stuff. Now, you'll also notice that that on the flyer, on the picture, it says from the 27th to the 30th. So if anybody is staying over, you're welcome to join us for church. I don't know who's speaking for the church service yet, but it could be somebody conference related. But if you're still in town and you want to go to church with us, you're welcome to join us on Sunday morning. So this is basically 4 days of craziness, of insanity. Really, like 2 days, 2 full days, and then 2 part days. Can those that can't attend get a DVD? You know what? I would love to do DVDs, but when you do a DVD like this, it's so expensive because there's so many hours involved. And what we will be doing is we're going to be doing streaming. So you'll be able to purchase the streaming if you live somewhere like in Iceland or Australia and you can't make it, you can stream it, okay? And the streaming is going to be going live, and then it'll be available to you. So also I want to mention, for everybody that gets registered for the Strange Land, okay, the Strange Land event, the Strange Land conference, you're going to get sent to you a link to watch the Out of the Darkness conference. Okay. So if you haven't seen that, you can have instant access to Out of the Darkness, which is, I don't know how many hours. I'm going to say it's more than 8 hours of content. It's a lot of hours of content. So yes. Anyway, Vic, I'm excited about this. We really want, we just really want to honor God, and we want to give people something to take home with them. I love everybody that comes from far away, but I also want to have an impact on our local area in the city of Mansfield.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get people to come out from Mansfield, which that usually doesn't happen at conferences, especially how niche we are, right? So I want people in Mansfield to know about George Carneal and Vicki Joy and all these other people. So we're going to be working really hard starting in January, trying to get other people involved. So anyway, any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in addition to the fantastic lineup, the thing that is, most people go away from these conferences talking just about how amazing the fellowship was. I mean, so many people were isolated in our own little places, and we don't know people that think like us and want to talk about the things that we do, and our own family doesn't necessarily always understand. And so not only is the fellowship at these conferences amazing, I can't even tell you how many of my dearest friends right now are people who I've met at conferences in the last like 5 to 8 years. So, and the cool thing too about your church, Tom, is it is really set up for fellowship. It's just got such a neat little area there to sit around and chit chat with coffee, and little niches you can go away to and have one-on-ones. And so I'm really excited about the fellowship aspect of it too. And if we've got new speakers, we're probably going to draw a new crowd. And sometimes these conferences, they're like little family reunions every year, and we get a little too comfortable. But I think what's going to be cool is, I think this is drawing new speakers, and it's probably going to draw new attendees and new people local to your area. And I don't know. I just feel like we're hitting a little reset button here in 2025, and it doesn't have to look like everything looked the last few years.
No, that's right. That's right. So, Vic, also, I want to say I'm really excited about the team that we have. We're just really kind of praying about, Lord, show us what we can do better, you know. And our team is meeting very soon. We're going to go to the church. We're going to look around. And we're going to like, how can we use this space? Okay. So there's going to be ministry taking place, you know, behind the scenes, and we're going to be doing freedom encounters and stuff like that again.
Awesome.
But we want to do ministry to the speakers, and we're going to we have somebody designated to pray for the speakers. Okay. And not only before the conference, but even at the conference if they want, and just, you know, just to support them and, you know, in ministry. And that's just an example of something that we're doing. Guys, pray for us, pray for our team, the Through the Black team. Okay. It's hard to do these conferences, and I was very glad not to do one for a very long time. And I started out doing conferences, and then I became somebody that spoke at conferences. I never expected that. And I had a lot of conversations with the promoters, and it's hard. It is hard to put on a conference. And I've said this before, and I'm not doing this for sympathy. After that Out of the Darkness conference, man, I had attacks one right after another, just uncanny things breaking down in my life for a couple weeks. And it was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Another $300 repair, another $500 car problem, you know, just all of these things. And I'm just kind of like frustrated, but laughing at the same time. I'm like, okay, if this is all it is, it was worth it. Because we saw so many people's lives touch at that Out of the Darkness conference. And this is what we want for this conference. So thank you guys for your prayers. Thank you for your support. Thank you guys to everybody for the financial support to Through the Black. You know, I do this full time, and it just means the world. So anyway, Vic, speaking of attack,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to talk about something that kind of made a little bit of headlines a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, I saw a couple clips. I don't know a whole lot about this. I thought it was fascinating, and I just want to kind of dissect this and talk about this. I don't know what your thoughts are. We had not talked about this until now.
No,
okay, but I
no.
know when I said that I wanted to do the show, you said you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, I did. I'm so new to social media. I was never on Facebook and all that stuff. And so I've really only been on social media for like maybe 2 years since my book came out. So I don't think like a social media person. Like when things happen in my life, or I'm enjoying a good meal, or I see a funny joke, or it never dawns on me like, oh, that could be content, And so the day this news story released, I probably had 50 people send it to me through Instagram, email, all this different stuff. And I read it, and I was obviously like, okay, this really pertains to my wheelhouse. And it never even once dawned on me, oh, I should get on and do an Instagram live, or I should, maybe people want to know what the sleep paralysis chick thinks about the guy who's talking about this stuff. It never dawned on me. So when you said that we're going to do a show on it, I was really happy because I do have a lot of thoughts on it. In different areas, I have thoughts on it that aren't really maybe going to be the things that everybody's talking about. So I'm pretty excited to look at this.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we haven't mentioned it. Tucker Carlson, the journalist, there was a interview with him recently, and I don't even know the source of the interview, but he talked about how he was physically attacked by a demon, is what he concluded it was.
Mm-hmm.
And something was on him in his sleep, and it scratched him and left a mark. And I do want to say this. It's funny because, and I don't know if you were involved in this or not, Vic, you might have been, but one of the last times we talked about Tucker Carlson at any length, we lost a listener. Somebody that had been following us for years, they were like,
really?
Okay, I quit. You're talking about Tucker Carlson. He's a real bad guy. And I was like, dude, out of all the things, Anyway, it is what it is. But we just want to respond to this story. So Vic, or not Vic, but Katie, if you have that original video about this, then we can kind of take a look at this original testimony. Yeah, here it is. So let's take a look at this first.
The presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about the good.
That's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
Oh, yeah. I had a direct experience with it.
In the milieu of journalism, or just?
Nope, in my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled. Physically mauled.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah, by a demon. Or by something unseen that left.
Is that right?
Claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical marks?
Oh, they're still there. Yeah. 1.5 years ago.
Was your wife terrified? I know you were.
I wasn't. I was totally confused. I woke up and I couldn't breathe, and I thought I was going to suffocate, and I walked around outside, and then I walked in, and my wife and dogs had not woken up, and they're very light sleepers. And then I had these terrible pains on my rib cage and on my shoulder, and I was just in my boxer shorts, and I went and flipped on the light in the bathroom, and I had 4 claw marks on either side underneath my arms and on my left shoulder, and they're bleeding.
Wait, they were bleeding?
They're bleeding, yeah. No, they're actual claw marks. And I sleep on my side, so I wasn't clawing myself. I don't have long nails. And they didn't fit my hands anyway. But yeah, that happened. So I'm not from a world where things like that happen. I never heard of anything like that happening before. I had no idea what that was. I knew it was spiritual immediately.
You did? Okay, that was going to be my question.
Yeah. I don't understand to this day. I'm not going to put it.
You didn't try to refute the spiritual part in your own mind. You went right into the.
Well, it didn't make any sense, and it doesn't now. But I'm not from a, what do they call it, faith tradition that talks about things like that or even acknowledges their existence. Like, there's nothing like that. I've never heard anybody say anything like that in my whole life.
What was the next day like?
Well, the next morning I woke up and I thought that was the weirdest dream I've ever had. And then I saw blood on my sheets and I realized that was not a dream at all. So I called my assistant, who was like the only evangelical Christian I know, well enough to call with something bizarre like that, totally bizarre like that. And she said, oh yeah, no, that happens. Yeah, people are attacked in their bed by demons. What? What are you even talking about? Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's enough of that. We get the gist of that. Vic, there were a lot of things that he said in there that are kind of buzzwords that we throw around on this show. What is your response to that? And I'm assuming you've seen it before or heard it before. Or...
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that he's talking about that are very basic ingredients to the sleep paralysis attack experience. Waking up, being very confused, not being able to breathe, feeling like you're suffocating. Now, the physical manifestation of the claw marks where they're actually bleeding, and for him to say that the scars are still there, that's a little bit more unusual. And usually when someone is being attacked on that level, there's something more ritualistic, occult, or military involved, because a lot of the people that have sleep paralysis, even the ones that have it frequently, even when they're wrestling with demons and being attacked by demons, they don't usually wake up with the physical markings of it. And the reason is because a lot of these experiences are actually happening out of your body. They're happening in the dream world. They're happening in astral. So you're actually not in your body. So those demons aren't interacting with your physical body. So it does happen. People do wake up with bruises and cuts, or they wake up on the floor or in another room or out in their front yard. This stuff does happen. But usually when those things are happening, there's something much more involved at a higher level. This isn't just someone who listens to Iron Maiden and played with the Ouija board in high school. You know what I mean? There's something much larger at play. You have to be targeted in some way to have an attack that aggressive.
It's more than just opening up, telling a lie, or opening up a door. Okay. You have to open up a major door, or you have to,
or someone has to be targeting you. Yeah.
So, okay. The thing that I picked up on that made sense to me is he said his wife and dogs were still sleeping. Mm-hmm. They didn't have any sense that this was happening. And for me, I'm married and I can relate with that because I've been in attacks, not a physical attack like that in my sleep. I had something happen to me when I was 16 that I still don't know what happened. I don't know if I blacked out or I was attacked. It felt like something grabbed me from the behind and just like rammed my head all over the bathroom, honestly. I'll talk about that more in a minute because we're going to listen to another testimony of an attack. Okay. But anyway, I've had sleep paralysis and I've woken up pretty shaken, and nobody else in the house, or at least my wife laying next to me, had no clue that anything was happening to me. Yep. Now, I also years ago had like some weird attack or nightmares, and other people in the house had something and felt something too. Okay. And knew something came to visit us that night. So I've definitely experienced that. Man, I talked to somebody recently who is connected with my family, who was saying that they were hearing voices or noises or something like that. And I've heard all of that thing. I just kind of thought about that recently, just now. So what we say is, when you get a check it. That's not a physical attack, but there's something weird, there's something strange going on there, and it's like, for example, one time I was sitting right here in this chair, and I think Colleen was co-hosting with me. I don't know if you were on, Vic, that night or not, but I heard what sounded like somebody was tackled above me. Now, my wife was out of town and my son was sleeping.
I remember that.
So Yeah. So I was in you. If I don't know what video this is, but you can go back and see my reaction. And I look up at the ceiling. I'm like, what is going on up there? Why is it right above my head? And so I almost excused myself to see what happened, but I was like, I didn't hear anything else, so I just let it go. Then I asked my son the next morning. I said, "Were you out in the living room last night?" And he said, "No." And you know, anyway, kind of interesting. But Vic, any other comments about that or any thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's very, very common when you're having sleep paralysis, even if there's someone else in the room, that they're going to have no idea. In fact, sometimes you're not even going to have an idea, because sometimes the opposite happens. Every once in a while, I get emails from couples where the spouses woke up and they know what's going on and they'll pray. So occasionally they can. But I've had the opposite happen where my dad and I travel a lot. So we're all over the place and in hotel rooms and stuff. And there's been several occasions where when I woke up in the morning, Dad has said, "Did you have sleep paralysis last night?" And I'm like, no, I didn't even have a nightmare. Like, no, everything was great. And he has told me on numerous occasions that he has woke up out of a dead sleep, and I am struggling and making, noises that would indicate I was in great distress, and he's prayed against it in the name of Jesus. And then he says that I take like a deep breath and then I'm fine. And then I roll over and I go, so those are times that I don't even remember it. And then what I've experienced, I just have to share this with everybody because it's hot off the presses, guys. It happened last night, and it happened 4 or 5, well, maybe like 6 days ago. So twice in a 1-week period. And Tom, I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it's December. I know there's a lot of occult activity in December, and October and December are really kind of predictable months for me to have a lot of warfare, like in my sleep and stuff like that. But I've talked to a lot of other people too that are going through a lot in December here. But I have had 2 really extreme dream episodes in the last week. One was a sleep paralysis attack, and one was more of like an astral abduction type of thing. In both situations, I wasn't making any noise. I wasn't thrashing in my sleep. I wasn't moaning. I wasn't groaning. I wasn't calling out. I was laying peacefully, and my dad was awake, didn't hear a thing, but felt overwhelmingly compelled to stop what he was doing and start praying. And both times the Holy Spirit immediately alerted him, Vicky's in trouble, and he's run over to where I'm sleeping. And I have woke up out of a severe attack to hear my dad next to my bed praying, asking Jesus to whatever. And both times he said, "Are you awake?" "Yes." "Were you in trouble?" "Yes." And I asked him, "Did you hear me? Was I calling out to you? Was I saying anything?" He's like, "No, I never, nothing." This has happened twice in the last week, Tom. And so one of the reasons why people that suffer from this can't get taken seriously is they wake up with these stories like Tucker, like, and I was wrestling with this demon and there's scratches all over. And then the spouse is like, "I was laying right next to you. I mean, like the dogs didn't bark." Like, and it's just another level of, it adds just another level to the confusion, and it adds another level to the isolation, because you can't prove this. We have to go on anecdotal evidence. And this is something I've been kind of talking about lately is, people think that anecdotal evidence is unscientific, but if you really look at what the definition of anecdotal means in the scientific realm, it just means it's not published. It's research that never got peer reviewed or published. And so I just want to encourage people, if this is really weird to you or really far out, or you insist that people that suffer from this must have some sort of secret, they must not really be a Christian, they must be dabbling in something. It's fascinating to me, Tom, that in Scripture it says that to settle a case, you find 2 or 3 eyewitnesses. And that carried weight in their legal system. if 2 or 3 eyewitnesses corroborated a story, it settled a case. And that's scripture. That's what scripture is saying. And so if you have a bunch of people saying, I'm a born again believer, I love Jesus, I'm following him, I don't have any sort of secret sins, I'm not looking at pornography, I'm not promiscuous, I'm not taking drugs, and this is happening to me, based upon the fact that that is an eyewitness account, which scripture says we can and should take seriously, because if you have one more person or 2 more people, that can settle a case. And so my desire, Tom, is to get the church to understand that this is spiritual warfare. And yes, you can open doors and have these things attack you, but you can also be targeted. Some people, they get targeted when they're awake. They struggle all day long with lust or something like that. Other people, when they go to bed at night, they get attacked. And that is the most vulnerable time of the day for that person. And so we just have to come together as a body, and we need to listen to the people that are talking about stuff like this. A lot of the people that are telling these stories, like even like Tucker Carlson there, I don't doubt that happened. I don't know anything about his life. I don't know if he's a Christian. I don't know. I'm not vouching for his salvation. I'm just saying that he has nothing to gain from publicly telling that story. He has nothing to gain from it. And I was even reading a bunch of articles before the show tonight, Tom. The press is mocking him. The headlines are ridiculous. Like one of them, I think, Katie, I think it was the second one I sent you. Tucker Carlson claims he was mauled by a demon. Sure, buddy. That like they're just rolling their eyes at him. They're mocking him. If I made millions of dollars and I was a journalist and my job was to be taken seriously, why would I put that out there? Look at this. Tucker Carlson says a demon mauled him in his sleep. Sure, buddy. And see the picture that they've chosen? They're picking a picture that makes him look silly. And Katie, if you can throw the other one up there also. This one's TMZ. Look at this kind of Daily Inquirer way that they're doing it. They have him cowering in bed with the demon. And the whole article is so sarcastic. It's just making him look like a total clown. And why in the world would an educated man with a front-facing career and a reputation to uphold and no religious sort of, agenda, why in the world would he put himself out there and tell that story? And that's one of the questions I've been asking, Tom, and why I haven't really said much about it now, because I don't understand. Maybe he just didn't know. Like maybe he just, I don't know, because you don't know how people, I'm shocked by some of the responses I get from people who have read the book. There's several different responses to this, but it does seem kind of like a hot potato thing. This sleep paralysis thing seems to be like a hot potato. Like a Christian gets it in their hand and they let go of it. They don't want to deal with it. And then a New Ager catches it and they're like, I don't want to deal with it. And then, everyone's kind of got their own reactions to it. And it's really unfortunate that the only people that really understand that this is an actual thing, meaning the ability to separate out of your body and get into the astral, the only people that understand and believe that is the occult and the New Agers. Now they have a different interpretation of it and they have different purposes for it, but it's really hard when you're a Christian and you're suffering with something that is affecting your sleep and your mental health and your spirituality, and it's confusing and it's disorienting and it's a spiritual attack, and there's no one to go to sort it out. And that's really my desire and why I was willing to put myself out there and write about it, because there are biblical answers to this, and we'll probably forever be mocked and misunderstood for it. But that doesn't mean that we don't at least attempt to reach out to the people that are suffering with it and help them kind of one person at a time.
Well, Vic, you said about 50 things there I want to respond to.
Sure,
but
go for it.
First of all, your own personal attacks. folks, yeah, we're in the thick of it, and there's nothing special about us. Okay. We've been trained to preempt, you know what I'm saying? And to push the demonic out, and to cover our homes, and to pray over our family and things like that. But we're not perfect in any way. And we have somebody, especially as high profile as you, Vic, you're a target, right? And you are on all these podcasts that you've made plenty of enemies that you don't even know about, right? Not only people, real human beings that do ritual warfare or cult level spiritual warfare, but also the demonic, right? And Job, look at what happened to Job. There was an attack there. So I say all that to say, hey, thank you for your prayers. We feel your prayers, and what we mean by that is we know somebody's praying for us, because there's no way we could have made it this long. Okay. And we see the hand of God moving, and we're very thankful for that. We recognize that. Vicki, at the beginning of the video, something I caught there was whoever is interviewing Tucker, he's saying that some people are realizing the evil is real. And I think he might be even alluding to things like Epstein or Weinstein or P. Diddy, saying, okay, these guys are evil, so that must mean that if evil's real, then God must be real, And then Tucker goes right into his story there of what happened to him. Vic, it's not very likely you're going to see an atheist or an agnostic have a sleep paralysis attack. I mean, what do you think about the statement I just said? You know more about this than I do, but the reason I'm saying that is because they want to stay cloaked. They want to stay hidden. That would only drive somebody to God, probably. And this, whatever the purpose was, whatever door was opened up in Tucker Carlson's life, whether somebody else did it or he did it himself, it backfired because it pushed Tucker towards God. And I don't understand all of his spirituality. He claims belief in Jesus. I think he's kind of like a celebrity that is handled, or he's got a lot of weird friends, right, who believe some weird stuff. I've seen him on some interviews where I'm like, dude, that's the gospel. Then I've seen him on other interviews where I'm like, oh, dude, that's a little new age. And my personal take, and I could be wrong about this, I don't think he's intentionally misleading, but I could be wrong. But he seems very sincere when he talks about Jesus. And anyway, whatever, it's not between him and I, it's between him and God. But we'll see what the fruit is. But what do you think about what I said about atheists or agnostics having sleep paralysis? Have you heard of it?
Yeah. So it really is a gamble when these entities attack a human being. It's a gamble. And I'm not talking about people that just have it once or twice in their life and they brush it off. I'm talking about the people that have had it repeatedly, or they have an experience like Tucker's where they can't deny it. And it was very, off-putting. Most people that have any sort of a supernatural or paranormal encounter, whether it's a near-death experience or out of body or sleep paralysis, or they've seen the Hat Man or whatever, they become curious about it. They begin to research it. They begin to talk about it. And if it continues to happen, there will be some sort of spiritual transformation. That person's either going to go headlong into the New Age or they're going to go headlong into Jesus. I don't know too many people that have had this experience their whole life that don't have some sort of really specific spirituality that they follow. But here's the thing with the New Agers, the atheists, and the agnostics. And I've been reading the chat as we've been talking, and I know that there's at least a couple former New Agers in here. So maybe you guys can add some to this, or back me up, or see if know what I'm talking about here, because I have talked to people in the New Age who have sleep paralysis, and they do have it. It's kind of like the dirty little secret, Tom. It's like when people come out of the new age, they'll talk about it. But when you're in it, it's almost like one of those, that's bad advertising. Like, don't tell people about that. Because a lot of people who do the astral projecting and the yoga and the Reiki and the meditation and all that, there are all of these attachments and paranormal like side effects that come with it, like sleep paralysis and different things like that. Now, there might be some people that aren't making the connection that the other things that they're doing are the things that opening the doors. But the way that they get around it, Tom, and it actually gets them deeper and deeper down the path is this is just a total high level explanation. Once you get into the astral realm, they say that there's multiple levels, and that as you go up the rungs of the levels of the astral, you get into higher and higher vibrational beings. And that's why you want to ascend, and why when you get to full ascension, you're with like the ascended masters and the gods. Because when you get in on the basement level, you're with the lower vibrational beings. And so they separate that there are good and bad entities in the astral realm, and some are wolves in sheep's clothing, and you have to discern, and you have to not let your energy get sucked by the lower vibrational ones and things like that. So I think what a lot of the agnostics and the atheists and the new agers, when they experience sleep paralysis, they don't enjoy it either. There's entire YouTube channels and websites that talk about how to train yourself to remain in the sleep paralysis, because if you scare yourself or you wake yourself up, you're not going to get into the astral, you're not going to get your out of body. And so it's like one of the it's this inevitable step they have to take to get to where they want to go. And so they know about it, and they know it's scary, but they have other ways of explaining it than demons are attacking me. These are lower vibrational beings, or I have to go, you hear a lot of celebrities when they talk about ayahuasca talking about how they go through this soul death before they meet the angels of love and light who give them all the answers. And it's almost like this is the inevitable price you have to pay for enlightenment. And so it's just one of those things that apparently is worth the effort. So they know about it. But they interpret it through a different worldview lens so that it becomes more palatable to them. And I don't know if that makes sense. And like I said, that's a very high level explanation.
Well, no, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I really hadn't thought about what their explanation was for that. And yeah, I've heard that. I've even heard I had a teacher in high school that talked about some of that stuff. So Vic, everything is on the table here. We can talk about anything as we kind of move forward. I want to respond to this one comment because we're getting ready to talk about this. Okay. I want to respond in a couple different ways. Sarah says, I think Tucker did rituals to get where he was, then was attacked and turned, or is paid opposition. I think if Tucker's paid opposition, they better get their money back, because the things that he's putting out on his show are just devastating to the New World Order, the Illuminati, or whatever. I don't agree with every single thing, but the interviews, the things that he's exposing, the people that he has on, I think is really devastating. I'm open to being wrong, but we're going to talk about a ritual. And again, this is something that pushed him towards God, according to his testimony and according to a lot of the things that he's been saying before this. He said, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. If you watch that interview with Sean Ray, which I think is a good interview, he's convinced he knows what, all this stuff is. And I think he even talks about Nephilim and things like that, which I was kind of shocked. Again, Vic, another example is somebody at his level. It's not really a good idea for them to talk about those sorts of things, like Nephilim, and say that they believe in them. But I want to, everything is on the table. We can come back to this stuff. We're looking for the truth here, and I don't claim to have a monopoly on it. I will give my opinion on it. I don't necessarily think he's paid opposition, but I think his story is fascinating, and I've seen him I've seen him many times apologize for what he did, and he's apologized for being deceived and reporting on some of the things that he did. And he's like, man, I didn't know what I was talking about when I was doing this, I could be wrong, but, there's been these talks. A lot of people are saying everybody's in on it. Daniel was raised up in government to a high position. He didn't do any rituals to get there. God put him there. Okay. And God does that sometimes. Same thing with Moses. Okay, Moses was raised up, and we can look at other examples. Look at David, okay? And he was, very powerful politician, obviously, king. And not everybody that gets in a position made a deal with the devil. Not saying he didn't. I don't think he did. But Sarah brought up a good point, and I want to get to this because there's more to the story. So let's take a look at this response from Alex Jones. Alex Jones is somebody who spent a lot of time with Tucker in the recent year, and he tells more of the story of what Tucker told him behind the scenes, but told him not to tell anybody. But since that came out, Alex Jones told more, and then he talks about an attack that he had. Vic, this is something else that we can respond to, and let's go ahead and take a look at this this video here. So, and this, right, Katie, this might be the one that is marked at the 10-minute mark. Yeah, let's do that one. Thank you. Sorry, yeah, I didn't specify that. So let's go ahead and go to that that timestamp.
And I said, did somebody do a ritual or lay their hands on you, or somewhere say that they, because I know how this stuff works, and I wasn't saying Christians were doing it, and I was picking up because it was demonic, but if someone asked permission to pray for you or bless you, but it was in an unorthodox way, and he went, whoa, hold on a minute. He came back a few minutes later, he goes, I haven't told my wife this happened a year ago, and he told her about the attack, but not what he just in the last week clicked. And he said, just days ago, when I was flying back here, this clicked. I was looking at old photos from a year ago, right before this happened, and this happened. And he goes, how the hell did you just say? And I went, well, let's go further. What type of room did they bring you in? He goes, well, they did bring me in a room. How do you know that? And I go, well, and I said, and then he told me who it was. And, you're at somebody's house and they're really nice and you're about to leave. Oh, one more thing. My wife would like to pray for you. And these folks aren't like saying they're Christians. Like, really, what kind of, well, she just wants to pray for you. Okay, this is, Tucker wasn't even sure God was real at that point. Did not believe in God, but he said that. And then I start describing, I said, let me guess, did this look like a little bit of an unorthodox, there was a little special room he got running? And he started telling me, and I was describing the kind of things I would imagine would be in there. Not even from research, though there's a lot of that. It was just, I was getting a download at this moment. I can't do this all the time. It's not me, it's God working through me. And I described it, and that's why he says I'm the most exceptional person he's ever met. Because, I said he'd be fired within a month, and he was fired 29 days after I said that. That just came to me. And a bunch of other stuff Tucker's seen. And the reason I tell these true stories is for people that don't know there's good and evil, people that don't know there's not Satan and God, people don't understand this is a spiritual war, as Ephesians tells you. Wickedness in high places. Let's pull the Ephesians verses on wickedness in high places. Thank you. And for Tucker, that's why you've seen the last 2 years him really go super hardcore and really wake up, was because he experienced this, a demon attacking. And that broke yesterday, and I covered it. It broke after I was off the show, or I saw it on InfoWars after I got off the show. It broke in a few hours before that, about Tucker Carlson talks about demonic attack. And I went on X, and last night I was up here working until like 10 o'clock at night. We posted at like 9:30, shot a, another report we tagged on to the report I'd shot in my car when it was still daylight. And a bunch of the comments were, Jones is crazy, he's making it up. They didn't know it was already trending on X, that the video of Tucker talking about it was out there. They thought I was just making it up. And I could see why, but I didn't tell those stories, not because I thought it would be discrediting, but because it would be a distraction. And Tucker says, and he's been doing it, he's all about the truth and just getting everything out there. And so he's had the courage to tell what happened to him. So that was inspiring. When I was about 11 years old.
Okay, so go ahead and pause it right there before he gets into this story, because we're going to listen to this in a minute. So, okay, Vic, there's a little bit more behind the scenes. Tucker Carlson told this story to Alex Jones one time when they were being interviewed behind the scenes. And Alex said, okay, he said, hey, did anybody touch you? Did anybody pray for you? Did they do these things? Did they take you into a special room? And he was kind of shocked that Alex Jones, was kind of clicking for him. And he said he was going through his phone on an airplane and he looked at the pictures. He's like, oh, I remember this happening now. And it was kind of like a situation where he was with somebody. And I guess it's somebody that's well known. Personally, I think the person was George Soros and his wife. I don't know for sure, but I think that was the place. That's my guess because of my personal research. Okay. And anyway, my wife wants to pray for you or something, or lay hands on you or bless you or something, and not necessarily saying that they were Christians or whatever. So anyway, that makes sense as far as my understanding, because those are the questions that we would ask, right? What was the door open? Did anybody touch you? Did anybody give you anything, a gift? Okay. Did any, things like that. So Vic, that's your first time seeing it. Any response, any thought on that?
Yeah. So I was a little lost. So he wasn't asking Tucker. This stuff wasn't something that was happening as part of the dream. Like, this was something that happened prior to this event.
Right.
Gotcha.
He's asking him because Tucker told him about the attack, and he said, don't tell anybody about this.
Okay.
And then Alex began to ask him, hey, kind of like what you're saying, this doesn't just happen. You don't get physically attacked that leaves marks. Something, you had to open a door in some way. Okay. And now it seems like unwittingly Tucker did that. And Alex Jones was investigating, and he was like, did anybody pray for you, lay hands on you, or something like that? And I'm kind of impressed that Alex Jones would know that somebody could pose as a Christian. I mean, Alex Jones is not a dummy, right? I mean, he knows this stuff. But we've been trained to ask those questions, okay? And we've been trained to look for infiltrators and things like that, and people posing as Christians. So yeah, he was asking him, hey, did anybody do anything weird? Because that could have opened up the door. So that's what was going on there.
Yeah. I'm really undecided on the whole thing. I believe his story. I believe that he had that experience. I don't question that at all. What I question, and I've done zero research on this, guys. I don't watch the news. I don't know anything about Tucker Carlson or his life, or I don't even know where he works anymore now that he doesn't. I don't know anything about him. But we as human beings, we tend to always need a hero in every tragedy. right? That's just the way we're wired. And so, you know, when 9/11 happened, we had to have the guy on the plane who said, let's roll. You know, we always have to have a hero that triumphed through it, you know, and then we had Rudy Giuliani, like, okay, he handled it with so much tact that, so, you know, we were looking for heroes in 9/11. And I've even heard people from other countries say Americans, no matter what happens, Americans always have to find an underdog and a hero. And it's just an interesting psychology about our culture. So during the election that a lot of people thought got stolen, and a lot of things were happening with January 6th, and there was a lot of, people appearing before the House or whatever it was, talking about how their votes weren't counted and things. So we had one of these kind of situations going on, and we needed a hero. And Fox News betrayed all the Republicans in that election, and they weren't, covering the election the way that they typically did, and they were calling states too early, and they seemed to be in on it. And Tucker was the hero. And so he's been cemented in the collective conscience now, especially amongst Republicans, patriots, and Christians, as he was the hero. So some people take that too far then, and because he was the hero in that event, because he took the fall and he got fired, defending the little people. Can we separate the fact that he was a hero in that situation to the fact that now he's a flaming born again Christian, and and I'm going to the opposite pendulum swing, because there's people there that he said on public TV that he's reading his Bible. So, and I hate talking about stuff like this, Tom, because people, what they hear you saying is he's not a Christian, and like, I don't want him to be, and I'm not saying he is or he isn't. I don't know. I'm not saying I don't want him to be. I'm glad that this event led him to wanting to read his Bible. And I pray that he continues to do so, and that the Spirit works through that and continues to draw him closer and closer and closer. I don't know where he's at, but to Sarah's point, the comment, Tom, I don't know. I'm not saying he sold his soul to the devil and he made a contract, and he, went behind a room and signed something in blood and all that. But I do think that there's something in between a good guy and a bad guy. There are gatekeepers, and they're ones that are paid to give out disclosed information. And there's all sorts of psychological reasons why, and trust building is one of them. But they do what the serpent is really good at. I'm going to tell you an entire narrative that's true, and I'm going to weave one lie into it, and you're not going to detect the lie because it's going to be embedded in all these truths. And so I don't know what to make of him, Tom. I certainly do hope that he's continuing to pursue Christ. The thing that I can't get past is the timing of the attack, which was over a year ago now. And the fact, and if Katie, if you want to put those pictures up now, the fact that he is still wearing his red Kabbalah bracelet. Kabbalah bracelets are not compatible with Jesus Christ. Now, this is the interview with Putin, which was from February, and you can't see it here, but if you were to zoom in on that picture, he is wearing the red bracelet. And this is at least a year after the attack that led him to start exploring his faith and reading the Bible. So if all of a sudden my pastor showed up Sunday morning with, like, let's say, cufflinks of Baphomet, I would question him. And I would want to know, do you know what that means? Why are you still wearing those cufflinks? Like, why do you have Baphomet cufflinks? Like, that would be a red flag to us if our pastor all of a sudden was wearing something like that. So maybe he's completely ignorant and he has no idea what that bracelet means. Maybe he's being forced at gunpoint and he's going to lose everything. Or there's a million things we could say. I don't know, Tom, but for me, the confusing thing for me is he's somewhere lingering in his confusion between searching for the truth, and praise God, he's reading his Bible, but I'm waiting for that bracelet to come off. The bracelet is a contradiction to me.
Can you, I guess, for anybody that listens, including myself, I've heard of the Kabbalah bracelets and I've seen the pictures of them, but I don't know who's passing them out. I don't know what the source is. I know what Kabbalah is. It's Jewish mysticism, which is a type of Judaism or magic in Judaism that is practiced by who should we say, Jewish priests that are very advanced in Judaism. You don't just start out. I mean, it takes years to get there to be involved in that. That's my understanding of Kabbalahism. Do you know who's passing? Yeah. Okay. So Katie's brought this up, and I can't read that, but I might be able to. So here, wearing a thin scarlet or a crimson string, Hebrew as a type of talisman is a Jewish folk custom, which is practiced as a way to ward off misfortune, which is brought about by the evil eye. The tradition is popularly through to be associated with Kabbalah and religious forms of Judaism. The red string itself is usually made from thin scarlet wool thread. It is worn as a bracelet or a band on the wrist of the wearer. The red string was worn in many cultures and not founded solely in the Jewish culture. Hinduism and Chinese culture has also worn the red string or bracelet for luck, love, and to ward off evil. Okay, there. So anyway, I mean, I've seen the pictures before, but I did not know the connection behind it. So I think that's a good point. Wearing what essentially is a good luck charm, if there's more to it than that, I don't know, but no, very fascinating. So
Yeah, and I remember having a conversation with Jim Woodcock, our friend Jim, a few years ago, and I was talking to him about a guitar player who had become a Christian, and I was sort of skeptical of it, and I was saying, well, yeah, but this and this and this and this, and he's like, Vic, I actually know people who know him personally, and he is genuinely saved, but he goes, do you know how long it takes to get 50 years of Babylon out of you? And so this is why I hate talking about stuff like this, Tom, because exactly. You just took the words right out of my mouth. I am not saying I think he's inauthentic. And what I'm saying is, if I knew this guy personally and he told me that story, I would inquire about the bracelet. That would be a question. It's simply, all I am saying is there's a verse in scripture that says, abstain from all appearances of evil. And when you see Kabbalah bracelets on Madonna and all these celebrities, and it was a very trendy thing in Hollywood several years ago, and they all had plenty to say about their religion that they were following. And so it would just be something that I would question. What is the significance of that bracelet to you, Tucker? What does that mean? Why do you wear that? I would just ask the clarifying questions.
No, I think that's a good point, and yeah, definitely. So, and I'm curious, and I guess it makes sense now if you say this has been trending. So I guess, and I don't believe. Let me just put it this way: I don't believe everybody that takes a picture with a hand over their eye is involved in something. It's more of a fashion trend than it is. You know what I'm saying? Just like not everybody who puts up the metal sign is a devil worshiper. Mm-hmm. It's more associated with metal now than it is with Satanism. So, but it's very possible that it could be unwitting, or it could be very possibly that someone like him is wearing it with intention. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a part of me that hates it when discussions have to digress into determining whether or not a total stranger is a Christian or not. How would I know, Tom? And
I
that's
agree. No,
and
I
that's not the
agree
point
with
I'm
you,
trying
Vic.
to make.
Well,
All I know is he made one public statement that he's been reading his Bible. That's all I know. And to that I say, hallelujah. That's awesome.
You can't win when you pick a side on this. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do know. I know exactly
So,
what you're saying.
but I guess I would say that he's definitely made more, than one public statement. I mean, he's been pretty bold, in his stance and who he thinks Jesus is and all of that. Again, that may not mean anything. And when we see celebrities and celebrity journalists doing this, I don't think any of us are so quick to think that they know exactly what that means. There's a lot of Jesuses out there, okay?
Exactly.
And the Bible even says as much, that there will be many false Christs.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to clarify, I'm saying because of my lack of ever watching the news and not owning a TV, I've only seen that one interview we just watched, is what I'm saying. So I'm not saying he has not ever said anything more.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever heard. So I'm saying this is why I don't qualify to make a judgment on where he's at.
Right. So, any before we move on, any response to just the kind of the rest of the story thing that Alex Jones was saying there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember Russ used to talk about this too. I'm pretty sure that in scripture, when we are laying hands on people, it's because we're praying for a physical healing. And so I'm just very leery of letting anybody lay their hands on me when they pray. Now it's different, if it's my dad or someone I've known my whole life and they've got their arm
Russ
around me or
taught us
something.
this.
Yeah. So if I don't know you, you're not touching me. And if you're not praying for physical healing, there's no reason for you to be touching me. If I don't know you and you're touching me and you're not praying in English, that's the trifecta for me. I wouldn't put myself in that situation, but I definitely think that those things can work if you are caught unaware. Now, I remember one time, Tom, I got stuck in a situation like that. Some women asked if they could pray for me before I left. And I thought we were just going to pray sitting in the chair. And they're like, oh, no, let's stand up. And all of a sudden we're standing in a circle and they're all holding hands. And the two women got their hands on me and they're all praying in tongues. And I got very uncomfortable. And so I was praying against it at the moment. I was saying, Jesus, if this is not good, please protect me. Please protect me. And what was really fascinating about that situation, Tom, is the women all stopped praying. And the one woman said, I'm not getting anything. I need a word. I'm not getting a word. And so she says to the other woman, are you getting a word? And she's like, no, I'm not getting a word. And she's like, well, that's weird. You always get a word. And I'm like, Jesus, protect me. Jesus, protect me, in my head. And they bowed their heads again. And then the woman, the woman who didn't have a word, popped her head up. She goes, wait, I'm getting something. She wants protection. And I'm like, oh, dude, this is creepy. And it's funny. It's like, I want protection from you. But they picked up on it. It could have been a coincidence, Tom. I don't know. But that was a situation where I prayed against it. And then when we left, I told my dad about it. And then my dad prayed over me, with the authority of my, and nothing that I know of ever came of it. So I do think that kind of stuff is effective, but I just want people to understand that even if you get yourself into a bad situation like that, the power of God, the blood of Jesus, the name of Jesus, if you're aware of the fact that that wasn't a good situation, you can pray against it. And I don't think that just because someone did it, you're now absolutely bound to whatever they were doing there.
Vicki, this is Russ Dizdar 101.
Yeah.
This is something that he taught us. That's something that I picked up on right away, and I was very careful. after I learned this, right? I've been in those situations too, and I've had people want to pray over me, pray over my family, and I shut it down, you know. So, and then there's other times where, you know, I kind of cut it off at the pass, so to speak. It was a church situation, and it was a commissioning for a mission trip. And I approached the pastor before, and I said, hey, I don't want any of these people touching us. And the pastor actually thought I was crazy because he didn't see the dangers in it. But I didn't care, you know. Yeah. Anyway, if something like that does happen, we can pray, okay? And we can pray against it, and God can break any curse. He can break any attachment. He can break any attack or anything like that. If you get a check it. That's what Russ would say. And obviously you were. Now, I want to say something else there. I don't know. We got people on all sides of this, and I don't know what people think about the gift of tongues, but the Bible is pretty clear that we need an interpreter. And one of the dangers of not having one is when there's a false tongue. Okay. Why do we need an interpreter? We need edification for the church. And there's a lot of speaking in tongues going on, and there's not very much edification. The Bible's pretty clear on it. So anyway.
Yeah, that's one thing I learned from Russ too. I had never heard it before, but he was the one that said, you know, hey, the occult speaks in tongues too. They have twilight languages. And I should have known, Tom, because they copy everything, right? But you know, and that's why it's like, if I don't know you and you're coming at me with the hands, I'm going to step back, you know, and I was never real comfortable with setting boundaries before. And I think I'm to a place now where I would be able to say, like, I'm not comfortable with that, you know, take your hand off me.
Yeah. And as Christians, we believe that we can anoint somebody. You know, God gives people the gift of healing, and we can touch. And we believe in laying on of hands. It's taught. But we want to be careful. And it's got to be somebody that we trust and that we're comfortable with. And somebody might be totally safe, but you may not be comfortable with them, and you're allowed to not be comfortable with them.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to be cautious. So, and it doesn't matter if somebody gets their feelings hurt.
Right.
So I just want to say that. Okay, so Vic, here I want to go ahead and go into this other story because I have a story similar to it.
Okay.
And this is Alex Jones kind of telling something about what happened to him as a child. He was 11 years old when it happened. And he talks about, it's kind of funny, he talks about the movie Rambo 3. And I remember going to the theater and seeing Rambo 3. And he uses that as a kind of like a timestamp, a reference when it happened. And so I want to see what you think about this, and then I want to tell my story. So let's take a look at this story here from Alex Jones.
And he told me one other event that happened to him when he was a kid, but it wasn't a demonic attack. He saw like an apparition. But I'm not going to tell his private stories. He can tell that if he wants to. And if you remember, the crew found like one version where I barely mentioned it. I did a whole like 30 minutes on this. We haven't found it yet. Right after I came back from Tucker's, but I didn't say his name. And I said a lot of prominent people are being demonically attacked because it wasn't just about Tucker. And it's increasing. It's being reported all over the world and similar events in every culture, you know, has talked about it. But it is tomorrow's news today. I did talk about that last year. And then they found one of the clips where I mention it. We'll play in a moment. So the point is that, well, I'll just tell you my personal story. Every few weeks I'd go see a movie with my dad, usually, sometimes with my mom and dad, but she didn't want to watch adventure movies and military movies. And so Rambo 3 was out. I was 11 years old, the one where he's in Afghanistan or whatever. And I'll never forget it because this has just happened. We went to see it. And my dad's in the car. And I said, so we're getting in the car to leave the house to drive to the movie theater. And I said, Dad, I'm thirsty. I want a drink. He goes, okay. So I get out of the car. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. It was the afternoon, sunny summer day. And because I remember I've been at the local neighborhood pool swimming a bunch before that, and came home, took a shower. And me, I never heard voices, never seen a ghost. I mean, it's not like I'm a schizophrenic. Totally not on drugs, totally healthy, sports kid. I walk to the front door and then walk by the living room and the stairs to the upstairs. And I go into the kitchen to get a Gatorade. I still remember like it was happening now. And there's no water on the floor. I didn't slip any of that. And I go to get the Gatorade. And then I get snatched and thrown all the way to the ceiling. And then I crash down. And I'm like, what's this? And it's like, oh, what's that movie with Ghost or whatever, where like trying to get people's attention and knocking stuff over or knocking them down or whatever. So I stand back up and I'm like, what the hell's that? And then bam, my legs are knocked out from under me. And I get shoved up against the wall in the microwave. And I get up and I go out to the car and get in the car with my dad, get in the Bronco with him, brown Bronco, still remember it like it was yesterday. And he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, my shoulder hurts. So we get to the theater, get the milk duds and popcorn. And about halfway through, I say, Dad, I'm in excruciating pain now. My shoulders hurt. And he owned, with a couple partners, a hospital. It wasn't a clinic, because they did surgeries there, but it was a little hospital there in Rowlett. That was Mesquite. He owned a couple of them. And he goes, well, let's go over here. Dr. Whatever's there. And we go, and my shoulder's dislocated. And the doctor gets in there and asks me and my dad for permission to try it. And he shoves the...
So I don't know if we need to watch this whole thing here, but you get the picture. He explained where the attack happened. Of course, we've heard stories like this. Alex Jones has been known to be kind of dramatic in the past. And I mean, I believe this event happened. What it was, I don't know. But he thinks it was some kind of an entity. Vic, I had a very similar experience. And I'll just tell you what happened. I woke up in the morning. I went to the restroom. And the next thing I know, it felt like somebody had grabbed me from behind and was just raking me across the sink. And I just was like, I had my hands flailing and I knocked everything off the sink. And just, I went from the shower to the toilet, and my head was in the sink, hitting the faucet. And I was standing up, but I couldn't stand up. It was like something had a hold of me. And my mom was asleep in the next room, and she heard the racket. It sounded like somebody was ransacking the house. And she came in, and it was over by the time she got there. And she's like, what happened? You blacked out or whatever. I was still standing, and it freaked her out, freaked me out. I went and laid back down in my bed. I'm like, what just happened? What just happened to me? There was something in that bathroom with me, is my thought. Okay. I'm not saying there was. I still don't know what happened to this day. It was really weird. Very possible. I mean, I didn't go unconscious. Okay. I could have been in between a blackout and consciousness. Who knows? It was really weird. But when I went back and sat back down on my bed, my first thought was that was a demon attack. Now, I don't know where I got that from. I was very aware of spiritual stuff back then, but I don't know why I would have thought that. But that's very, very similar to what Alex Jones just described. Anyway, what's your response?
I mean, I guess the first thing I was thinking about, given your age, because I know you and your friends were doing a lot of very blatant witnessing at school. And see, everybody always wants to think that the attacks are always if we're doing something wrong. And obviously, yes, we can open doors, and that, yes, it does work that way. But I think that we also have to bear in mind a lot of this kind of stuff, Tom, for guys. Even if a guy never has paranormal experiences in his life or anything supernatural or sleep paralysis, a lot of guys will experience it around puberty. It's almost like there is this vulnerability there with that age. And so everybody always assumes it's because they're up to no good, right? They're experimenting and they're doing drugs and they're smoking, whatever. But I also think that people are targeted and attacked when they're bold. You know, if you're out there and
I tend to agree with you, Vic, and I mean, we've seen this. It's kind of, I don't know if a study can be done for people who end up doing ministry like you and I do. Okay. And I don't know if you can put Alex Jones in that category, but he's certainly woken up a lot of people. And maybe events like that put people like him and us on the paths that we're on, or I don't think it's coincidence. So I'm wondering in the chat, in the comments, has anybody else experienced this? Physical attack we're talking about. Tucker Carlson said it left scars on his side. You know, Alex Jones said his shoulder was dislocated. Whatever I experienced, you know, I had little, you know, some small knots on my head from hitting the faucet and just like tearing the bathroom down. So, yeah, I'm curious to what anybody else listening to this has experienced, what they've seen. I'm not so concerned about these things, but I'm concerned about some of the other things, you know what I'm saying, that you've said. And if you guys go to Through the Black and look at the shorts, you know, which are these kind of vertical, you know, videos, these phone-shaped videos you can watch. You can see one of our guests talking about a blitzkrieg attack on him where these demons were just basically screaming in his ear, trying to get him to kill himself, you know? And I think that can happen in a lot of different ways. You know, I think a lot of men have experienced like some kind of crazy blitzkrieg, lustful temptation. You know what I'm saying? And it can come in different ways for different people, you know? And, you know, it's just kind of like, what the heck was that? Where are these thoughts coming from? They're not, you know, they're not originating from me. And don't get me wrong, as human beings, we can do a lot of stuff in our flesh. You know, we don't need the devil's help, as I say. But you can recognize, and, you know, we're kind of trained, hey, what is the source of this? This is outside of me. You know, I've used the example. I was driving down the road and on my way home from work on a Friday afternoon, and I had a thought pop in my head, hey, why don't you go down to that bar down there and get a shot of tequila? I'm like, what? That's not even on my radar. That's not even anything I want to do.
Oh man.
You know? So yeah. Anyway, what's so funny about that?
Tequila.
Tequila. Mas tequila.
All I could think of is you in a biker bar like Pee Wee Herman with the platform shoes dancing to tequila.
Yeah. So if anybody doesn't know, that's a Pee Wee Herman reference.
It's a Pee Wee Herman.
Folks, if you are late to the party tonight and you rewind back to the beginning, we talk about the Strange Land event that's coming to Mansfield, Ohio, and Vicki Joy is coming to Mansfield, Ohio. Some other people are coming, and it's going to be a spiritual warfare conference. There's going to be some very practical things that you can take home. We talk about it pretty extensively at the beginning. Not all the speakers have been announced yet, but the tickets or the registration is going to go on sale next week. Okay. And we want you to be a part of it. If you can't be there in person, yes, there is going to be streaming. We'll let you know about that. That's going to come later. But yes, Strange Land, inspired by First Peter 1:14, when we have fiery attacks, don't think something strange is happening to you. And I wanted to go with something strange, but that, you know, stranger things, but we went with Strange Land because we are living in a strange place, in a strange world where extra dimensional entities can interfere in our lives, right? That's strange.
Yeah.
So, where people are abusing kids and killing babies, that's strange. That's not normal. So we're going to be talking about all of that stuff at the conference. Kenny C is going to be there. Lots of our friends are going to be there. It's going to be a great time. So, folks, we need you to pray for this conference. We need you to support this conference. We need you to show up at this conference. So, anyway, that's coming up. Vicki Joy, any closing words tonight?
I also think that Strangeland is a cool name because it makes me think of the verse that says that we are strangers in a strange land because we are not of this world.
Yes, aliens and strangers. Yes, agree. So, folks, we appreciate you so much hanging out with us, and it's always fun to hang out with my buddy Vicki over there. She's right there. I instinctively knew I had to go that way.
I still can't do it. There we go.
You got it. Yeah.
That feels so counterintuitive.
We're so close, but so far away. Yeah. So, guys, thanks for giving us a thumbs up, subscribing, sharing the video, everything that you do, the prayer, the support, all that stuff. We couldn't do it without you. And guys, we'll see you next time. God bless.